Hello everyone. I am Paolo Cirio. I am an artist. Thank you so much for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here, and the presentation of before was so good that I feel I hope you are going to enjoy. So I do work with art, and I've been working with art and data for a very long time, actually. So I have plenty of projects, but here I'm just showing some of them that are related to other things that are in the room, other people that are in the other room. So I'm sorry if I will skip something, but maybe if you have other questions later about projects I don't present, please just ask. So my approach to data art is a little bit different. So I'm not looking much at the visual part of it, and I am looking more in a kind of like socially engaged type of art. So I make it engaging and active for a wider audience. That means also that even if I work with commercial galleries, museums, and so on, I always look for an audience that's beyond the art world and also the science and academic world. And especially, again, a data art that is not visual, but is actually rather performative and transformative in the social sphere. So in some sort is kind of like performative, but especially is based on activism and pretty much political. In that way, I look for art that is exposing evidence, and also that is providing inspiration, or actually also promoting public policies. And so that I will show it through a few artworks. I don't want to make you bored with too much wording. So this is a famous project of mine that actually also won the first prize, the Ars Electronica. This is from 2013, a while ago, called Loophole for All. In this case, I managed to hack the website of the Cayman Islands, that you might know is pretty much like Switzerland or other countries where big banks, wealthy individuals trying to hide their money and being anonymous. Through hacking this website, I basically exposed and distributed for the first time the list of all the companies incorporated in the Cayman Islands to over 200,000 companies. This was just basically a list of names of company. So to make it more active, I published everything on this website I made called Loophole for All, where everyone could steal the identity of these real Cayman Island companies and invoice with that name. So basically everyone would be able to hijack that company by buying one of these certificate of incorporation. These are original certificate of incorporation of the Cayman Islands, and the forged one signed with my real name is this one. So you could buy it only for 99 cents and basically avoiding taxes in the US or everywhere else. This, of course, generated quite a few concerns also from the Cayman Islands. This is the TV at the Cayman Islands that is reporting on the news. And then everyone that actually did own some companies, the Cayman Islands. So starting from very sketchy guys, maybe mafia guy, or who knows who they are because they're anonymous and what they are doing is not very clear. So this is someone who writes me and is very upset about what I am doing, the fact that I am actually stealing and using his company to do who knows. But also big banks started to write me. These are cease and desist letter, basically saying, if you don't stop doing this, we're going to bring you to court, and of course all the consequences. This is actually one main bank that own all the debt of Argentina, and it's interesting because it's coming from Wall Street. I received more than 40 of these letters from any kind of multinational banks and so on. And this is the exhibition at the Ars Electronica, where basically there is just a small portion of the data, but what's important, there are these certificates that are printed out and everyone can take with them. Part of my work, it looks also surveillance and privacy concerning big data, of course. This is another quite important project of mine from 2016. In this case, I am looking at the criminal data for United States. So you should know, well, you probably know, in the United States is the highest incarceration rate in the world. That means that there is around 60 millions of people have been arrested in this country in the last 20, 30 years. 60 million is like basically the whole population of France. The problem here is that the data is public, is considered in the public domain. So this is a website of a random jail, in a county jail, random in this country, that publish every single person that arrested with a mugshot, name, surname, and other kind of booking data. So here the operation was to take this data, but actually taking it from the websites that they take that data from the jail website and republish them to expose this data even more on the search results of Google and so on. So the operation here was to collect over 10 millions of these mugshots and republish the data on a cloned website, mugshot website. So basically there is mugshot.com. You can still find it online. And I created mugshots.us. That is exactly the same copy of the website, but the mugshots are blurred and all the names and surname are shuffled. So all the data is kind of like blurred. And if you click on one profile, you find someone that looked like someone that really has been arrested, but the picture is blurred and the name and surname is not accurate. So that's why, because when someone is looking for a criminal in this country or someone that has been arrested in this country on Google, instead of ending up on the real website, they end up on this website where actually nothing is accurate. So basically it's creating noise in the search results of Google to make these criminals not searchable. And out of this work, this process, of course, there are also some interesting visuals, if you want. But more than visual here, this picture, just 4 of them, they become kind of fine art prints out of 10 million. So you can imagine it's impossible to see 10 million picture. Here, the question is not just protecting privacy, but it's also judgment and actually bias. So when we're looking at this picture, how do we know if this is a real criminal or was arrested for racial discrimination or for any other reasons? And so this judgment, of course, now is all automated by AI, but actually is already automated within the data of the criminal data. So because of making this process, this operation on over 6 websites and over 15 million actually criminal data, people that have been affected by this public data started to write me and basically saying how they were affected personally by that. Of course, people that have been arrested even for one night or maybe for no reasons, for a mistake, and how they had to pay these kind of sketchy websites to remove that picture, that data. I received hundreds of these emails, of course, and they were pretty much horrible and heartbroken, all of them. And so after that, I created this campaign which promote a privacy policy in the United States that, of course, advocate to remove this kind of data from search results, something that we have in Europe and is called the right to be forgotten, and in US is completely lacking. This project also produced some cease and desist letters from the original mugshot websites, and in this case, they are accusing me of stealing their identities, but especially stealing their traffic, because of course people would go to my website instead of the original website, and for that would be a problem. Funny note about this letter, a few days after they sent me this letter, they got arrested. I mean, the owner of the mugshots.com website. So this was quite a funny situation. Moving on a more recent project, this is quite successful as well, Capture 2020. Here I am using facial recognition on police officers, particularly in France. So I collected over 1,000 pictures, public pictures where police officers are present. So basically going on Google and search for a protest in Paris, a football match in Marseille, and so on. And then, of course, facial recognition is very powerful these days. In some pictures, you have many police officers, and that's how we extracted 4,000 of faces of police officers in France, and I published them on this website called capturepolice.com, where everyone could type their name. So crowdsourcing the identification of police officers, which is super dangerous because, of course, one thing is having the biometric data of someone, another thing is making that link between the biometric data and the name and surname or even the home address. So this was part also another campaign where I pasted some of these pictures in the city center of Paris. And then I made this pretty big installation, although also in this case, a small selection of pictures where there are 100 of these faces, the video, and especially some police officers that are shooting straight to the protesters. That actually is happening right now in the US. So they are shooting rubber bullets straight to the protesters. Actually, they want to mutilate the protesters. And so in this case, this is something came out from this process of having thousands of pictures, and eventually some of them really focus on the one shooting straight to the protesters, making the point that eventually this kind of data work can also produce justice in police brutality. Well, the police wasn't happy about this project. And so they reacted very fast, and especially because in France there are unions that protect the police, actually a few unions, and also they started to tweet and complain. And very, very soon things escalated to the point that the Interior Minister of France, which actually today is the Vice Minister, or actually Minister of Justice, tweeted and basically said, if Paolo doesn't stop, I will bring it to court. And especially is also asked to remove that installation that I show you in this museum in France. And this is actually when the museum is censoring the exhibition. This is a particular case of censorship, government censorship in Europe. And so basically this exhibition has never been shown. All of this was, meanwhile, I was promoting a campaign to actually ban facial recognition in all Europe. So it's a campaign I launched and I tried to organize with other organizations in Europe, and also a petition that collected over 50,000 signatures that were then sent in this box with all the cases of European countries using facial recognition. To the European Commission, that then replied and actually said, yes, we know this is an issue in Europe and we're working on it. And actually that's what happened very recently. They passed this new bill in Europe, the AI Act, finally banning facial recognition and all form of biometrics in Europe. Okay, I'm doing a big jump, but I think it's worth to do it here. This is another project I've done around data, and it's actually look again to finance in a way, and abuse in the economy, and it's particularly in the art market. I am an artist working quite a lot in the art world, and so in this case, I collected over 100 works that were sold by Sotheby's in the past 20 years. So it's looking actually the art speculations, like financial speculations in the art market. And in this case, I republished all these pictures, all this auction data on this website called Art Derivatives, where everyone can buy a work for a very small portion of the real price. So I did it mostly on Sotheby's. Actually, all the auction data of Sotheby's was pretty much stolen and republished. And then I also wanted to focus on Christie, and particularly on this work that is probably a famous data art work that was sold for 70 million, I think it was 2021. And in this case, you can buy a small portion of it for a very small proportion. So it's for 0.00001%. So you could buy for $6 this piece of work, and the concept here is that this work doesn't sell anymore in the auctions for more. You actually gain, and so you can sell it for more. So it's kind of like reversing or subverting that concept. I want to show this work pretty much because when we talk about data and art, and especially art, it's important also to remember that art is also not neutral. In these rooms, often we talk about how technology is not neutral and so on. But actually, when we talk about art, we should also look into it in a different ways, because this is, for instance, a case where we have an artist that sells for 70 millions and is completely a fabricated artist, as many of you might agree or might not agree. But in this case, that is the target, and this was also for a campaign to regulate the art market that, of course, didn't go that far because the art market is so corrupted that there is no hope for it. Last project really is about climate change. This is like my last research. In this case, I am using data around extinction. So these more than 40,000 species that are endangered by extinction, but especially all based on this very particular database regarding fossil fuel companies, and so I've done quite a few works around here, and I am also experimenting how data can become fine art, so even with painting, so this kind of like experimental way, but especially to created then this campaign, which is a climate class action in United States, which actually proposed that everyone can claim financial compensation if they were affected by climate change, and that is a data that's processed through this database of CO2 emissions for each fossil fuel company. So here you can basically calculate how much money these companies should own you. But this is kind of like a proposal that I am working on. So thank you so much, and talk later.